What is good, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, it's another video of me talking about what potential Pokemon TCG cards could be added to Pokemon TCG Pocket that could potentially change up the meta. Now, we are a couple of cards deep. You know, we've talked about a handful of cards, and I would like to talk about a little more. Some of these cards, I think for this video in particular, we might look a little crazy. We're gonna get a little crazy, all right? So I know some of you guys might be, you know, the voice of reason, like, yo, Moon, what are you doing? You're gonna destroy the very fabric of reality if you add these cards. I'm like, yo. That's what mad scientists do sometimes. We don't know if the world will break if we don't see it bend first, so. But yeah, I'm gonna mention a couple of cards and concepts that I feel like could potentially be added to Pokemon Pocket. Obviously, I think they would have to be altered in a way, because I think if they're added in as is, it'd be too powerful of a card and will probably just ruin the game. So I would imagine you add these cards, they'll be tailored, they'll be altered. You know, some of them, if they're item cards, they might be supporter cards. I feel like I think in Pocket they have made certain cards that were item cards and they turned them into supporter cards. That could be for the balance. So instead of, you know, making my item card do multiple for a turn, you can only do it once per turn, you know, so we'll see. Also, my last video, I brought up fishing rod, and by the way, if you haven't seen that last video, make sure you do it. It should be pinned somewhere down in the comments or in the video, but check it out. But I did bring in fishing rods and how they could potentially attach energy cards to your Pokemon, but there is actually an item card that does what I was saying in Pocket, and they could potentially add the energy sticker card, and I feel like an energy sticker card would be a good way to ramp up energies for like a coin flipping mechanic, similar to way how Crushing Hammer or Pokemon Catcher would work. But without further ado, let's get into it. And we're gonna start off like we usually do. We're gonna start off very calm before we get crazy. All right. First on the list, we have a Pokemon tool card called Choice Belt. Now, there's always been a couple of cards like the Choice Belt in Pokemon TCG, but I'll now read the ability. The attack of the Pokemon this card is attached to do 30 more damage to your Pokemon active V Pokemon. Now, V, for all intents and purposes, when you see Pokemon V in the card description, just replace it with Pokemon EX. Because in Pokemon TCG, there's always been like a different moniker for like the tanky two-prizer cards. There's always been like EX Pokemon, GX Pokemon, Tag Team. Well, Tag Team is different. We're not gonna get the Tag Team, but there's always been in like V, EX. So there's always been those type of monikers. So in this case, the Choice Belt in Pocket would do more damage if the opposing Pokemon is a EX Pokemon. I think that will help to give, you know, basics and normal Pokemon a fighting chance to you know, do more damage if the Pokemon is EX, because EX Pokemon are typically a little more tankier in health pools than the regular Pokemon. So I'd love to see something like that. I don't know, maybe it can only be attached to a basic Pokemon and would have no effect on EX, or you attach it to an EX Pokemon and do more damage to there. But I think having a card like this would be nice for the meta, just to give a little more fight back for like the other Pokemon cards. Our next card that I would love to talk about is now that Ultra Necrozma is out in these streets running rampant, taking cards from your deck right into your discard pile. I feel like there has to be a way for, you know, players to fight back against Necrozma a little bit, because there's a Pokemon TCG as opposed to Pocket is 60 cards in a deck as opposed to the 20 cards, and there's a lot more room to play with 60 cards. 20 cards, there's a lot of valuable cards, and losing maybe 5 of them could be detrimental to anyone. So I feel like there should be at least a way for you to, you know, fight back a little bit against certain things like milling. And the only way to do that is to have cards that help retrieve cards from your discard and put them back into either a hand or your deck. And there's a couple of cards that do something like that. First up, we have the VS Seeker. Now, VS Seeker allows you to put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. Item card, it might be a supporter card if they add it, but I think something like that will be along those lines. There's a couple of cards of that manner. They also have the Pal Pad, which essentially is like the VS Seeker, but it takes 2 supporter cards. I would imagine if it's added to Pokemon Pocket, it'll say like something along the lines of choose a random supporter card in your discard pile and add it to your hand or your deck, something like that, because I know Pocket does not like doing research. I don't know why they hate research, but I guess it'll have to be random. Funnily enough, we have Lusamine in the game, but funnily enough, there is a Lusamine supporter card that does something very similar, where it allows you to put any 2 combination of supporter or stadium cards from your discard pile into your hand. So maybe if they ever do, add stadium cards, that, they'll add a card that allow you to, pull out stadium cards at random or supporter cards at random from your discard into your hand or deck. I think something like that would be very useful, because to lose Pokemon, I feel like we should definitely have more Pokemon retrieval cards, because all right now we have is Celestial Town Lady, and that only takes basics, I feel like we should definitely have something like a Pokemon Rod, like I mentioned in my last video, or something to help, fight against losing very valuable lines of your Pokemon straight to the discard pile to Necrozma. Because I would imagine if Necrozma won't be, Necrozma is the first, it won't be the last, all right? So there will definitely be more Pokemon that will start milling down the line, and we're gonna need more options to help fight against that. So I hope they'll give us the opportunity to do that in the future. But yeah, speaking of searching, we're a little strapped, we need more cards, Pokeball communication research, it can only go so far, and I feel like we do need another Pokeball. Now, there are a couple other Pokeballs out there in TCG. We got Great Ball, we got Ultra Ball, we got Master Ball, we got Nest Ball, we got Level Ball. There's a lot of different balls out there, but honestly, out of all the balls, I think the best Pokeball that they could add would be the Timer Ball. Pretty much what a Timer Ball is flip 2 coins. For each heads, search your deck for an evolution Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. I think this will be a flip 2 coin kind of card, and for each heads, it'll pick a random stage 1 or 2 Pokemon from your deck into your hand, and I think that will be perfect. I think it's a good, healthy card to add to Pocket. It helps with searchability, and it broadens just outside of basic Pokemon, because communication just picks any Pokemon at random. Basic Pokeball is just straight up basic Pokemon, but Timer Ball, sometimes you just need that stage 1 or stage 2, and obviously it doesn't really truncate it down, but it definitely excludes basic Pokemon from the mix, which kind of makes it a little easier for players. So I think this would be a perfect card to add. But let's get a little crazy now. Let's start talking about Pokemon abilities. There's a lot of Pokemon abilities out there that I think would be really cool to have. Let's start off pretty calm. Let's talk about Ditto. Now, we've only had a couple of iterations of Ditto so far. One of them being that it could pretty much copy any move and allow that move to be used by Ditto as long as it has appropriate energies. But there is a Ditto of the past, and Ditto has been known to do this, where Ditto can act as a basic for any Pokemon, and you could use Ditto as essentially a third copy in Pocket. So there's one iteration of Ditto, the prismatic version of Ditto, that has the almighty evolution. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may put any stage 1 card from your hand onto this Pokemon to evolve it. That'll be pretty cool in the case that we have like the Necrozma, it got rid of your Froakie. Like, damn, I only have 2 Froakies, 1 Froakie's in there, but I got a Ditto. So I can throw that Ditto down and evolve that Ditto from that to a Froakie, not a Froakie, what the fuck is it called? Greninja? Had a little brain fart there. You go from Ditto straight to Greninja. That'll be pretty cool. Pokemon TCG is just too playful of a card game, and they do a lot of experimentations, and I feel like adding Ditto with such an ability like that could help, just add that much more variety and gameplay mechanics to the game at hand, especially if we talk about like that Porygon Z that I did in that last video. Definitely just helps to like shake up the game. Every Pokemon has their own gimmick and quirks and whatnot, so I feel like adding like something like this would be pretty cool to the game. What also be really cool is Celebi EX. Now, essentially what Celebi EX has is an ability called Time Recall, which allows your evolved Pokemon to access the moves of its pre-evolved states. So let's say, you're Arbok, and you're the Arbok variant that, traps the Pokemon into the active. Let's say you want to poison it, but only your Ekans, previous evolved form, can poison it. So you could have that access to that ability to do that poison move. There's also is a tool card that works very similar to Celebi's Time Recall called Memory Capsule, which functions the same way. So whether it be a Pokemon ability or a tool card, I think a tool card will work fine since we're kind of entering this tool card meta and counter meta with Guzma and whatnot. So I wouldn't mind adding a memory capsule to the mix. All right, for these last 2 concepts, I want to get a little crazy, all right? Because we've been slowly getting a little ramped up. let's start getting into there. The first card I would like to talk about, we're talking about another Pokemon Stadium card. This Stadium card is called Skyfield. And essentially what Skyfield does is allows up to 8 Pokemon to be added to his or her bench. Now, that sounds insane because obviously the difference between Pokemon TCG and Pocket is that Pokemon TCG allows up to 5 Pokemon on a bench, where Pocket only allows 3. Now, I think adding up to 8 Pokemon on the bench sounds insane. Maybe it might bump it up from 3 to either 4 or 5 Pokemon for more bench space. But I think a tool card like this will be pretty cool. It'll also increase the damage output for Pokemon like Pikachu or Arceus, or any other Pokemon that's damage is reliant on how many Pokemon are on the bench. So you can have a card like Skyfield and just extend your bench a little bit more, and now you're able to just output, you know, a little extra more damage. Now they become even more a threat. And I don't know if I pointed this out, but Stadium cards, while they do affect both sides of the field, Stadium cards are very volatile because you could put down a Stadium card and then your opponent could put down another Stadium card, and it would override your other Stadium card and discard it to your discard pile. So it's always like a cat and mouse game on who's first or second to put down their Stadium card over the other one to override it. So in event that, you know, you have your bench extended to 4 or 5 slots, and then if a person either removes or puts another Stadium card on top of it, the bench space will be reverted, and then you have to select what Pokemon would be discarded to your discard pile once that bench size kind of shrinks back down. So, which is what it says down below in those parentheses. When this card leaves the play, each player has to discard until they have, you know, the adequate amount for their default setting for their bench. So I feel like Skyfield would be pretty interesting to have. Allows more bench space. With more bench space, you know, you can stick more Pokemon on it, Pokemon with abilities, you know, and I feel like that's more tools to play with on the field. So Skyfield, W. And lastly, what I would like to talk about to end this video off, I know it's gonna sound crazy because the way how Pokemon Pocket works is that there are energy zones and there's no specific card for it, but I want to talk about special energies. Now, there's a handful of special energies. You know, we have Rainbow Energy, which provides one of every energy type, but only one at a time, which is insane. We also have Triple Energy. We also have Dragon Energy, which I think they should really add to the game just to give because dragons are always having those type of dual typings of energies, which is annoying at times because with energy zones being randomized, you're never really gonna get that extra energy, because sometimes, what if you are a fighting and thunder dragon type and you keep on getting fighting energies, you can't get the thunder energy and it's annoying. But I guess the real issue is, since there's no dedicated card for energies and you're always reliant on the energy zones, I guess the real issue would be for Pocket is, how would these special energies be represented in Pocket? There's a couple of ways that I think that they could potentially add it to Pocket. One of which would be in the same vein that Pachirisu or Delkitty or any of the energy rampers would do. So let's say like we have Diancie, and Diancie attacks or has an ability that attaches a special fighting type energy to only specifically fighting type Pokemon. And then we have that access to strong energy, which allows the Pokemon to have 20 more damage attack. And maybe like the trade-off for an ability such as this would be that next turn, no energy will be generated for that player's turn. So I guess you're sacrificing a turn of an energy for a specialized energy. I think that's one way to balance it out. But let's say, for example, we have a card like Electrode, who has an ability called Buzzsap Generator, which it says like once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may search your deck up to 2 Thunder Energies and attach them to one of your electric Pokemon in any way you like, then shuffle your deck. And if you search out your deck in this way, this Pokemon is knocked out. So essentially, allowing you to add 2 Thunder Energies to one of your Pokemon at the cost of Electrode's life. So after you search your deck for 2 Thunder Energies and attach to your Pokemon, Electrode is knocked out. I think they can do something very similar, where if you have an Electrode with like the Buzzsap energy, at the cost of this Pokemon's life being knocked out, granting the opponent a point, maybe it'll attach a special flash energy to one of your electric Pokemon, which will grant them no weaknesses. So something like that, because I don't think they want to add special energy cards, especially since the energy zone is going to be facilitating all that. So I guess the only possible other way is for attacks or abilities to facilitate them. Another way they could potentially would be through supporter cards. Like let's say we take like Zinnia, and basically what Zinnia does in Pokemon TCG is you can play this card if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn, attach 2 basic energy cards from your hand to one of your Dragon Pokemon. But since we don't really collect energy cards as an a drawable card, in fact they kind of just spawn in your energy zones, I feel like Zinnia could kind of be altered in a way for Pocket, where instead of you attach 2 basic energy cards, it attaches a double dragon energy specifically for your Dragon Pokemon. So I think that's one way they can kind of implement that. But I think special energies would be amazing, especially if you start talking about dragon energies or triple energies, rainbow. There's a lot of different energies out there. And I knew going into this that this will definitely be out there, because obviously some of these energies, like the burning energy, is insane. So essentially what burning energy does is that this card can only be attached to fire Pokemon. This card provides fire energy while this card is attached to fire Pokemon. If this card is discarded by an attack by the fire Pokemon this card is attached to, attach this card from your discarded pile to that Pokemon after attacking. So pretty much, if there's any fire Pokemon that has an attack that causes you to discard a card or energy from your hand, you can discard this energy, but this energy will always return back. So it's pretty much an infinite energy of discarding, because every time you discard it, it just attaches right back. I think that's insane. And obviously, there's a lot of fire Pokemon with discarding abilities, and I think there would have to be a Pokemon that either would have to like sacrifice itself for that sort of special energy, you know, or it'll have to come at a price, you know. So I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on them potentially adding special energies and what other possible ways they could probably implement it, you know, whether it be an item card or a Pokemon ability that will cause like your energy zone for like the next energy to be a special card, you know, of this sort. Let me know your thoughts, because I feel like that will definitely help to shake up and add some spice to the game. But yeah, y'all let me know. Once again, like, comment, and subscribe. I think those are all the cards I would like to talk about. Like I said, they're a little crazy towards the end, but I'm curious to know what you guys think about it. So let me know down in the comment section. Once again, my name is Moonskii. I have nothing else to talk about right now. So, as usual, would you get the fuck off my channel?